I'm going to share two potential newsletter formats to consider that could work in any niche. So one's dailies, one's weekly. Neither is better or worse than the other, but these are just examples of things that you or anyone else could consider to get you going. So the first one is you could have a daily newsletter that is essentially one daily thing with a brought to you by line, which is a sort of sponsor line. So similar to what I do. But what I think could be interesting is if you go the one daily thing approach, you don't have to do this, but you could brand it as one specific thing, right? So it could be, and I'm not just talking about your niche, this is any niche, right? The funniest fill in the blank of the day. You could go, you know what? My newsletter is the funniest divorce meme of the day. That's it. What's interesting is, let's say you did that. People will be tempted to just go, oh, it's the divorce meme of the day newsletter, but labeling it as the funniest divorce meme of the day newsletter. It's the exact same thing, but suddenly it suggests that you have scoured you're not just randomly sending a thing. It's almost like you're crowning and winning an award, right? The branding of this one daily thing can make it seem bigger. So years and years ago, I think this was like on Blogger. That's how long ago this was. Very early days of YouTube, whatever. I had started a blog, didn't last that long, even though I still think it was a good concept. But this was around the time that like stupid videos were all over the place, right? Like it was like early YouTube, early virality, early whatever. And I created a blog that was just going to basically share one of those every day. And I named it The Biggest Idiot on the Internet. The idea was that every day I'm going to literally name this is the biggest idiot on the internet. But all it was a funny fail video of the day. Million sites like that. But that branding suddenly makes it interesting. So can you, if you're just going to share one thing a day, can you wrap it in branding that makes it interesting, right? So funniest is one of those ways to go. Another could be the one thing you need to know of the day. If it was like a lesson, it could be the divorce tip of the day. It could be the product of the day. Again, this can be in any niche, but and this is not the only way to do a daily newsletter, but one format that can definitely work and be easy is to go, I'm going to pick one type of content, going to share that every day. And I'm going to brand it in a way that it's like, as this has been chosen, this is the award winner. This is the big thing that's going to make it feel even bigger than just, oh, he shares a funny video every day or funny. So that's the sort of daily format concept. A weekly concept that you could consider is basically you take, let's say, 3 of those different types of things. And so you have 3 of those things, and then you have a sponsored thing. Well, actually, I'm going to get to that in a second. So one way to do that this might actually be a fit for you in terms of a weekly, again, could also be daily. All this is flexible, but just general idea. You could say, I'm going to share a funny thing, a useful thing, and a surprising thing. And that's going to be my newsletter. And so you figure out what you call it and brand it, whatever, but you're basically going to have 3 sections. They're all going to be short. Here's a funny thing. Here's a useful thing. Here's a surprising thing. Now, what's interesting is going back to my question to you about the 3 emotions, you might pull those 3 emotions and be like, okay, whether you label them that or not, in your own mind, you're like, here's the thing that's going to put a smile on their face. Here's the thing that's going to make them not feel alone. Here's the thing that whatever. So you could match this up to the target emotion. And in this scenario, what I would probably do, depending on who your sponsors wind up being, is instead of having a sort of standalone sponsored section, I would insert the sponsor into one of those things in each issue. Let's say the sponsor was like a site that helps you find a lawyer, helps you find a divorce lawyer. That might be my useful thing. So I would label it sponsored, but it's integrated into the content as opposed to having a 4th item that is the sponsor. If the same sponsor, they could be the useful thing and go, hey, you need to find a lawyer. Here's a great resource to find a lawyer. It could be the surprising thing. Maybe there's some stat about the average lawsuit takes blah, 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 blah. And so the sponsor becomes the surprising thing. The experts at such and such website have done research and found that the average person needs to meet with 6 different lawyers before they hire one or whatever. So you're creating branded sponsored content to plug into one of your 3 categories. Better for the sponsor, better for you, unique, interesting, feels like content, etc. Doesn't have to be either of those formats, but those are 2 formats to consider that you might find really helpful.